right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to the April 27th, 2026 Select Board regular meeting. To my right, we have Brian Davilbliss and Carla Weasel. To my left, Chris Hayward and Flo Smith. I'm Jared Felch, and we also have our town administrator, Vince Conti. I call the meeting to order. Any additions or changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Any public comment? Heard? This is the high water mark signage update.
I believe Corinne is here tonight to speak to that for us.
Yeah, unfortunately, the other two ladies were not able to join us. So I handed out just a couple minutes ago some paperwork from it. I met with Tessa and Sheila on the 16th. We went around to all the places that they had on their list. I'm not quite sure actually how their list came about, as far as maybe it's just where they knew there was information for. The one that I asked to be added to a list was the one on Junction Road. And that seemed like a good one. I wouldn't have suggested it if there hadn't been a buyout. But since there was, and it's where both the Dog River, merges into the Winooski, it just seemed like a potential spot. So we went around to all of them though, despite what anybody thought about them up front. We went around and visited all of them. And it came down to the three of us agreeing that the best places, since they said it was possible to do 2 high water mark signs, to do it at the Dog River Natural Area next to the Riverton Fire Station. And they're at Junction Road. But for the Junction Road, that a sign, even though it could be made in advance, it would certainly not go up before the demolition was done, right? And not be in the way of anything yet to come. And along with that, as I had mentioned to the board before, I think it would be awesome to actually have on the first page there an actual welcome to Berlin sign, which would also, it not only helps people identify that they're still in Berlin over there or going back into Berlin, but it would be good as far as people being able to find that high water mark sign too, to just see some stuff going on there. So in order to move forward with it, for them to actually get the measurements, or to then think about sign design and stuff, it's something that needs to be approved. The only reason I can't think to approve it would be if you had any other thoughts of other locations. I have racked my brain and nothing else seems to come to mind. It's kind of unfortunate. 302, there just doesn't seem to be a good place to put one, because part of it was supposed to be where it would be visible either by car or by foot. And, when you get off, when you go over to basically where the entrance to the mobile home park was, like nobody's going by that, right? If you're coming down from all the housing and development up there, you're not seeing it. You're not seeing it from the main road. So that just doesn't seem to be a logical spot to have it totally out of sight from anybody. Where at least on Junction Road, you get not only car traffic, but you get a whole lot of foot traffic, bicycle traffic, dog walker traffic. I mean, all of that type of stuff. And with the Dog River Natural Area, since that's a spot where people are not only using that picnic area, and the only picture in here that I didn't take is the one that shows the picnic tables. But since it's used for that, and there's mailboxes and town notices there, it just seems like it would be good to also have West Berlin have a sign. And my understanding is if they have data for at both of those locations, for both Tropical Storm Irene and for the 2023, that we could have both of those numbers, those places.
The only other place I was thinking is the AOT site on the Bearmont Play Road. Because they're going to take down those buildings and turn it into something else, but I don't know when that's going to happen or what it's going to look like. But that was my only other thought, because that is right off 302.
Yep.
But again, I don't know. I like your ideas. I'm just saying that was the only place I could think of on the Bearmont Play Road. And that may be too far down the road.
Both valid points. I frankly, I don't know, the town doesn't need to pick up the cost except for installing the
Yeah.
stuff, but frankly, I don't know how much it costs to have signs made, or if there's also a charge as far as the people doing the research and so
Yeah.
forth, as far as potentially adding a third one later, might end up being at the town expense. And I don't know if you want to put off making a decision to the next board meeting and have us talk about that. I mean, us being Sheila and Tessa and I, like, as far as why,
I mean, I'm not wed to it. It was just a thought about
Yeah.
another location.
it's a logical thought. I mean, because part of it, the other sites, why I went ahead and included the pictures is like, it may be along the main way, but there's like nowhere to pull off
Yeah,
safely.
Yeah.
To really see what it is and to actually look at it. So what's the point of having it
yeah,
if you can't really read it, which is kind of like this, the little welcome to Berlin, the little recreation sign. It's at both ends of Junction Road, you know, down by the 3 Mile Bridge Road too. And it's like, I don't know many people who have actually read that sign. 'Cause it's,
Yeah.
you know, maybe a few of the walkers, maybe, but you can't really read it as you drive by. It's not big enough. So to have signage where, and that's why I have the above sign there too, to see that rec sign is like right by a guardrail. There's no place to pull over. It's like, you gotta actually place a sign where it's usable, meaningful.
big enough to read, right?
Well, that too.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
I would be willing to make a motion tonight in agreement with what you suggested, Corinne, that the two locations for the signage, being 50 Junction Road and also 2095 Vermont Route 12. The two locations make sense to me. Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, it's good.
It is good.
Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll make a second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
Should the response officially come from you to go to Sheila and Tessa?
I'll send them an email if it's before or after yours.
Second amendment to purchase and sale agreement approval and sign.
Well, this is just an amendment to extend the date to August 6th for the closing.
And it removes due diligence period. Due diligence is over.
That's the second clause in the.
Yeah, yeah. No, I read that. I just
Okay.
verifying that it didn't wrote that.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve the second amendment to purchase and sale agreement.
And I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Farrell, appointment to Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission as Berlin rep.
Yes, you have our application in there from your package.
Looks good. Got experience. I'll make the motion to approve the appointment of A Farrell to the CVRPC.
And I'll second that as well.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So is Bob's done? Bob's done?
Not yet.
Wow.
He might be if he's watching or listening tonight.
Bid review and approval for Hospital Hill line.
Again, the bid summary is in your packet, and Craig is here to speak to it or answer any questions you may have as well. you want to tell them who the low bidder was? Save their eye strain, Craig, maybe?
Yeah, sure. I just love
How
that.
difficult to read.
I didn't have very much luck either. There were 3 bids. One from J. McDonald for $882,502.50. Cutting Edge Landscaping and Excavation LLC for $1,215,520 even. And then Hebert Excavation for $1,258,450 even. Pretty big difference there, and my recommendation was J.A. McDonald. For the big obvious reason, lowest bid, but they're also very capable. They have
Yeah.
the equipment, personnel. This is not anything out of their ballpark, so they would be my recommendation.
I concur with you, and I'll make the motion to select J.A. McDonald for the Hospital Hill Sewer Rehabilitation
Second.
in regards to their bid for $882,502.50. Thank you.
Got ahead of you, Flo, sorry.
Right, it all goes together eventually. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Was there a contingency on that project? I'm not seeing it on the micro print yet.
I think they do include it in some, like, I talked to the bidder today actually about, because his shoring number was quite a bit less than Hebert's, and I was kind of curious why. And so we talked about, they have contingencies baked in there. So his number is actually a little higher because he doesn't know if you're gonna need Jersey barriers overnight and stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that there's not a separate line item for contingency, but I think they're in those numbers.
Thank you. Good question, Chris.
Other questions?
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks.
Service agreement with Stone Shore for approval and sign.
So just a short introduction with Stone Shore for the new members as well. They are the ones that were integral in the development of the CIP. And we've had some conversations with them regarding supporting us with some further activities here. For example, the bid that went out for the staffing, for example, that we got no bidders on. Ron has come up with, and I'll introduce Ron in just a second. He's here and online tonight. A couple of opportunities that he can assist us in with staff support and my support in performing a similar service as well. If in fact we don't want to go back out to bid at a higher price than what was already there as well. So it's an hourly rate, and the scope that he's got in here is included in here that covers a little bit of everything as well. And with that, I'll introduce Ron, and if you have any questions or Ron would like to add something.
Oh, thanks, Vince. Hi, board members. I haven't met everybody yet, but yeah, what Vince is talking about is I think it's a really critical project to go through for the town. You have, enough balls in the air, let's call it, to really look at your structure that you have with existing staff, what your near-term needs are, and to collect all that information. What Vince was talking about is, trying to break down what originally was bid out as one project. So you would sort of, Vince and I would look at that objective, which is a staffing assessment, and try to come up with all the information, but bring back to the board sort of the next step. So it would be more like an in-house project than a contracted out project. You'd have more hands on it. My role is to support your staff. I don't go away for a while and come back. I usually have regular contacts with your staff. We did that with the capital planning, and that's the kind of the role that I would play. The other piece that Vince was sort of hinting at was the town will come up against some issues from time to time. And this is a different type of project, but I just call it fractional staff. It's like on-call, immediate service when something is wrong. So there's an issue in town that Vince needs immediate help with. And all the towns go through this, and there is a process to deal with these things. This is day-to-day business stuff. VLCT provides a certain level of free advice to towns, whether that's their legal services, their finance people, and they will get you to, so far in your issue. They also have, VLCT has a whole bunch of guidebooks and workbooks and other things that they are totally available to your staff. At some point, there's too much. It's either a time constraint, or it's specialized, or it's a need to get through something. And that's a different type of contract. So Vince and I were going back and forth with, does the town need project specific support, like the staffing project, to bring that in-house and try to do that in-house to a greater degree than originally intended? Or do you need to have a resource that's available after you exhaust the free services? So the free services to me are, your staff going out and getting trained on something, your staff going to ask the VLCT Max Center for assistance, and then you still can't get legs on something. And then you would reach out to Stone Shore, we do another triage and try to figure out a plan of action. So think of it in those two layers. The immediate need, and this is immediate need from my perspective, but Vince has also mentioned it as a high priority, is their staffing. Whether it's a change of staff, new positions, budget season coming up in the fall, how do you move and get good information to the public so everybody knows what your intentions are? And that, to me, is the main. It's already behind schedule. We intended to get that out back in March, I think. So that to me, on a timing thing, would be good to bring in-house and try to accelerate that.
So, sorry, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. What exactly is this part of the original proposal in addition to sort of an on-call type thing?
Yeah, I don't, yes is the answer to that. There's a question for the board of whether you want to break down the staffing project and try to do that sort of in-house, and then potentially downsize your scope of work, because the most critical part, which we knew already, was doing the wage assessment, where you have real money tied into wage review, whether it's people paid properly, people underpaid, people overpaid.
Right.
And how do you get that advice? That piece is still a very critical outside consultant sort of role. But what Vince and I are trying to do is the things around that. Try to get things that you can do in-house done.
Yep,
And
okay.
really fine tune that question to a consultant. And it probably will be more interesting to outside consultants that do this all the time in HR and wage analysis, if we can get some of the peripheral issues in the bigger RFQ out of there, which is
So sort of information gathering and putting all the information together, and then somebody else does an analysis. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So there was, think of it in three parts. There was the background information of existing staff, job descriptions, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was the wage analysis, which is the money one. And then there was more of a philosophical, how quickly do you want to get to these new positions? So the two ends of that we could break out. The middle part is the one that we try to focus in on first and get a consultant in for that wage analysis. And Vince and I would work on the structural issues. Where are you guys at with job descriptions? Are those all updated, current, ADA compliant, all the current requirements for those? And then on the backside, does the town want to move quickly to new positions or work with what you have? And that's those two ends we would pick off.
It's
With those.
It's just the
Yeah, the screensaver.
Oh, you're in charge of wiggling the prospect.
Sorry, we couldn't see you anymore, Ron.
Okay, I can see you all fine. And then so that was the immediate need. The longer term one is rather than have Vince say, I don't know how to get to this one policy. The board wants it next week. Can you help me? Though that's the on-call one that
Okay,
Vince has called VLCT. They can't help, or they can help in a couple months. So the select board has a whole different schedule, wants to get something going quicker.
okay.
I was gonna ask if we've used VLCT at all or
Yeah.
to its fullest potential.
All the time.
Yeah, gotcha. And
Several times a week, I'm sending notes to the VLCT looking for this or that, or,
are they responsive?
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So they'd be working in
Limits, yeah.
conjunction.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll use that free resource first.
Yeah.
And maybe to put it a little bit in perspective too, the bid that we went out, we put a cap on it of 20,000 for everything that Ron just talked about.
Mhm.
To 5, some in-state, some out-of-state companies that do that work. I got no responses. I reached out to 3 of the 5. And they all 3 told me the same thing. They didn't bid because that wasn't high enough for everything that we were asking to do. So I talked to Ron about it, and he came up with the brilliant idea of, breaking it down and me helping him, support him doing this internally. We may be able to stay within budget doing it that way as well, or under, depending on what that third party that we'll still need for one portion, 1/3 of that would come out to be once we put the proposal together. So that's kind of a fair summary, Ron?
Yep, that's good. Yeah, the boards, and because you have 3 new members, I don't like to assume that everybody's, supportive of this. So, internally, when we start to work on this, and this is what I told the prior board before the changeover, when you begin a staffing study, you will get some harder answers, either harder realities for current staff, realizing that they, don't have the right skills for the job that you're asking them. Sometimes people are underpaid by enough that it affects your budget coming up, where you make a commitment to looking at this stuff. It doesn't mean you have to make all the changes right away, but you can make them in phases. But still, you're still making a commitment to either the public or the staff that you're going to look at this. And just know that when you start to look at it, people start to say, hey, I remember we did this study 6 months ago. Are you going to make those changes that came out of it? And the board needs to know, hey, no, that was a 10% impact on our budget. We're going to take 3 years. We'll get there, but we're going to spread it out. So just think of that as you're looking at this. It's not something that is a sort of a quiet study that sits on the shelf. It will engage employees. It will bring up recommendations and a lot of those things that are not always easy.
Mhm.
And just for some background, there's been a couple of suggestions about certain positions that we might benefit from, one being a finance director, to better sort of, work with bonds and funding opportunities and whatnot, that it might, be well worth worth the cost, whether that be a half-time or a full-time. I'm not sure, because it would depend on if there was other duties. But that's been one position that's been highly recommended. And then just looking at, my desire for this was to look at, okay, what are the staffing needs? Like, how are we handling things now, but what might we need to be thinking about going forward? And, and how, and sort of the equity in wages and all that. So it's really, to me, it was about sort of the future, at what point, what types of support do we need that we don't currently have in-house? I'm sure grant management is going to be one of the things that comes out of it, which, again, perhaps a finance manager that also has the ability to really manage the grants. So anyway, so that's sort of one of the reasons why we started looking at this. And we've worked with Ron and I can tell you that whenever he's at a meeting, I'll ask him the question, even if it's not something that he's been looking at, because he has so much experience in municipalities that he's really well versed in and just procedure and where to go to get answers and everything. He's been a great resource to this date, I will say, for the town.
I know you had mentioned once about a few meetings ago about an engineer
Yep, again, that would be something that would be
That
looked
would-
at.
that would fall into,
Yeah.
into this.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, where's the best to invest in
It's gonna look at
salaried
everything. It's
positions
gonna look at
or
police, it's
paid
gonna look at
positions?
fire now, right? It's gonna look at the staff here,
Mhm.
all of it. It's gonna be looked at, and then it's gonna be looked at the town plan and the CIP, right?
Yeah.
What are we looking at 3 to 5 years from now as well that we might be missing that we're going to need when we get there, right?
So this is essentially an outside eyes helping us look in.
Yeah,
You
I
bet.
mean, a
Yes,
different perspective maybe we're missing.
yes,
Is that
yep.
a way of
Someone
looking at this?
Someone with a lot more experience as well,
Okay.
right?
and,
Looking at it, that's familiar with other towns and what they do and how they do it as well.
and the other thing that came up was paid, should we move to hiring fire department staff? So that's another question. Have we outgrown the volunteer model? Do we need, one or two staff? So
Again,
So these
based
are
on
all
the growth
questions.
Forecast if and or when, right? Is it 3 years from now? Is it 10 years from now?
Yeah,
But
so these are all questions that we have that we were looking for outside help to answer.
Do we come with the plan as far as like what we want to look at first, or does that come from them? Like,
Well, I think the
It
first
it
thing is
starts with
with an
originally
assessment.
it starts with an assessment. They'll come in, like
Everything.
Ron will come in and probably talk to the staff,
Okay.
right? Look at their workload. How are they balancing that? Are they overloaded? Do they not have enough? Is there more capacity there? And get that feedback and feeling from that. Then we'll sit down and review that. After every step, every phase, you guys will get a briefing from Ron and I
Okay.
as well.
Yep.
And the other thing that I wasn't aware of for a while, so because when the town clerk was elected, the town clerk and the assistant town clerk were essentially, so like, we didn't direct their duties. It was all directed by the town clerk. So now that those are positions,
Staff.
we can overlap potentially or change the duties or, so that's another area that we might want to look at. What's the assistant town clerk doing now? What could they be doing? It's all just really assessing what the jobs are, what we need and where we go in the future.
Well, thank you.
So again, just as a note on what you're looking at here for the agreement as well, Ron also put in here that, right, the contracted labor, his services under this agreement won't exceed $2,000 without written approval from the town, right? So when we hit the 2,000 mark, sitting at this table again with Ron, if we hit it, right?
Mhm.
I'd ask for additional funding to continue the project, or we're real good, maybe we get there.
So we're looking at like 3 phases though, correct? Is that my
Yeah, there's three
understanding?
Different, as Ron described, there's 3 different really elements to this project.
Okay.
2 of which Ron and I are working on, and the third one, we're gonna want to find a contractor.
I'll move to approve the services agreement with Stone Shore Municipal Consulting.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much. Talk to
Appreciate
you soon. Okay.
Charitable exemption requests for Vermont companion neutering.
You have the package in front of you. It's Vermont companion animal neutering.
You mentioned they're moving, correct? You saw
That's what it looks like, is they're looking to purchase 2096
Airport Road?
Airport Road.
They're looking to relocate to conduct their business. And they want to be tax exempt. Now, I have should be in your package, I think. Maybe not.
Have the,
I have contacted the town attorney. He's reviewed the documents and he has no real issue with it. It does meet the requirements from a legal perspective, from his view as well.
and the listers?
So this is where this came from. The listers have already looked at it.
Okay.
They put their little property tax exemption overview from the listers in the end as well. So they're the ones that have reviewed it and submitted it.
Fran? Oh, sorry, I'm not the chair.
Right?
How does
I
this
see a
change
hand.
from like the Grange, which had to go to a town vote?
That's a good
It
question.
is a good
I'd have
question.
to, I'd have to review the process in its entirety for that, Corinne. Joe, I think this,
Add that the Berlin Fire Department, when you're requesting this, was at town meeting as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it,
I think it still has to go through, if the board approves it to move forward, and I'll verify that.
Mhm.
I do think it has to go through a public hearing as well, perhaps to inform the public and get some feedback on that as well.
June chair. Just one other point, Cornelson, Research Road. The town does have a pilot policy, in fact, so the town would still expect a pilot payment from this organization for the municipal taxes.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
do we want to wait till we know exactly?
I think we should hold.
Yeah, wait, the Grange.
Yeah. I think we do.
Put this through the meeting, get some more
Research on that,
information.
and get some more information.
Thank you.
Also, I think you should make clear to them that there's a pilot piece.
Mhm, as
Yeah.
Tor pointed out.
I'll
Good questions
reach out to
and
them as
feedback
well.
from everyone.
Get the feedback.
I mean, is that something where we would want them here, or is it just something that we can have Vince handle with a conversation?
It depends on how they want to,
That's all what they want to do. I'll ask them.
Yeah, okay,
References.
Okay.
As well.
Thank you, Ben.
thank you. Emergency medical services contract discussion and decisions.
So from the previous meeting, there's a couple of changes identified in language. It's in your package on the highlighted section. Those are the only changes, those two changes that were made to the document from the previous meeting.
Mhm.
With that, I'll turn it back over to the board and Mr. Danforth that's with us tonight as well.
How we doing?
Good.
Good.
Good evening.
The only other thing that I will mention, again, is by process, this should have gone out to RFP, right, to bid. But again, I made the recommendation, take the hit for it, or not, only because in talking to others and some of the agencies around don't have the capacity to do this. And my concern would be, you know, in the commercial world, if somebody's full of work and gets a bid package, rather than not bid, they usually bid high because they don't want the work. And if the competitors know that it's out the bid, they're all going to bid high because they either don't have the capacity to do the work, we're at risk. Rather than negotiating directly with the current contract holder, we're at risk for a higher bid. So that one's on me. That was the thinking behind it, whether it's right or wrong, but I thought it would be less risk to our tax dollars going this route.
Should I assume that all 6 towns have the same time window, July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2031?
That's in this year's round of contracts, yes.
Okay, that's for everyone else, okay.
We've done 1-year contracts with other towns the last 2 years to get everybody to the same cycle.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Has the per capita rate ever changed within contract? It says it can go up 5%. That's just curious if that's ever had to happen in a contract. or within an annual?
After we gave the number for any specific year,
Yeah,
no, it's gone up and like, next year it's gonna go up or the year, next year it's gonna go up. But we haven't ever changed it mid-year to my knowledge.
okay. And if another town discontinues service for some reason, is that gonna immediately affect our rate? It's not, okay, that was the other question I had.
I hate to read this, that you would have to. Have you talked to the town attorney,
On,
not putting it out to bid?
yes. He didn't say yes or no. I could go back to him and
I'm wondering what the consequences are.
Yeah.
Of not. doing that. That's the contracts that we voided.
I mean, is anybody really interested in taking bids? Or that's not really how that works?
no, it doesn't work that way. I mean, we would typically draft a request for proposal, send it out to, probably 3 to 5 agencies.
Mhm.
Typically, we'd like to go to 5 agencies and see what comes back.
Did we go out to bid last time? Do you know?
Yes, in your
Yes,
3-year contract with a 2-year option that you exercise the additional
Yeah.
2 years. So
Did-
it's 5.
Did we get other bids?
I'd have to look back and see. That one I don't know the answer to. Tor might know.
I don't remember that. I know 10 or 12 years ago, back before I had gray hair, we did go out for bids and we did get a couple. We got a new service. It was part of the White River
It was one of the.
Buffalo area, and they were gonna subcontract with an outfit out of England. Belco, and it was, you never know what you're gonna get, I guess, by going
Yeah.
out for bid, and I think the fire department even put in a bid at that time as well.
That was in 2013, I think.
Yeah.
I have to look back, but it's not.
When, the contract's up soon though, right?
Sure.
June 30th.
I'm going to speak to Mr. Kusick. Can do that
Well, I mean,
possibly tonight.
I'm one person. That always makes me nervous if there's something that's set by statute you're supposed to do and you don't do it.
I agree. We do, I agree.
I do agree.
I also know that, these guys are probably best suited to do the work. So, I'm a little torn on that in that regard. And I,
Too, especially for like response time.
yeah,
Mhm.
well, and we've been, they've been here. So
And they've been tremendous to work with, truly.
I mean, can we? I don't know if it's worth moving it subject to,
I think an answer from Mr. Kusick. Again, I'm sure I can have an answer tomorrow. And you might know something that we don't regarding. Maybe we have to write a letter of why or whatever whatever it might be, but again, I'm happy to do that, try to get an answer tomorrow from him.
I think the purchasing policy does state that there would have to be a justification,
yeah,
and but I don't think that that's.
I think that, yeah. I mean-
Undoable.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm willing to move it subject to, being able to accommodate the purchasing policy and the statute as approved by the town attorney.
I just have I have a question because I'm still
Yeah.
figuring out the EMS situation here. Berry Town, I think last time we talked is dispatched from Memorial, correct?
Right.
Has there been any thoughts of dispatching from Montpelier? Would that increase or would that be more beneficial to our area if we dispatch from Montpelier? Like the process, someone calls 911,
Yeah, so we much similarly, we put our dispatching out to bid years ago. The last our last iteration, we did not, because Memorial was, one of our big things is Memorial, the public service answering point. So in Barry Town, if you call 911 from a landline, it brings directly to Memorial. And they also, depending on the towers, there's a lot of our 911 calls go directly to Memorial. Capital and Barry City are not. They have to go through one of the Memorial or one of the other 911 centers first. So it cuts down on our time sometimes, not all the time. There was a period of time back that Tor spoke to before I came here in 2013. So before my time, that Capital dispatched the Berlin calls for us. That gets a little complicated, having two dispatch centers for one entity. So we eventually moved away from that. But we're hopeful that in the next, I'd say a couple of years, but we've been talking about it for a long time, that we have a statewide CAD system that will make all this very easy, because it'll all be bounced between computer systems. So
Yes, I think you spoke of that last time, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Can you explain how the mutual aid part of it works? If you guys are tied up on a call and another call comes in, or if you're in transit somewhere else, how does that work out?
So it's situational, depends on where the call is. Our dispatch centers know how many trucks we have on, if they're in or out of service. Sometimes they'll put out a tone if they know one signed off at the hospital, dropping off a patient.
Mhm.
And then, give them a minute or two, depending, again, the nature of the call, just sign on and take the call. We staff certain days of the week, we look at our data and our higher peak call volumes, we put on another truck that hangs out, as Joe alluded to last week, or 2 weeks ago, or it was sometimes over at the Berlin station, in the parking lot, or roams around between stations, depending on where the calls are, so that, keeping trucks where we need them to respond. As far as mutual aid goes, we don't need it a lot, we give it a lot. So it's once a month maybe or so on average. So it depends on what town it's in, where in that town it is. So for example, in Berlin, if it were, down on the interstate, it would, depending on where on the interstate, it might be Montpelier, it might be Northfield. If it were down on, north end of Route 12, it would be Montpelier. If it was down on the Barry Montpelier Road, it would be Barry City. So our dispatch centers look at the closest proximity of service if we need mutual aid, and they dispatch them accordingly.
Okay, gotcha.
So it really depends on where access is and what is the closest ambulance.
Thank you.
Yep.
And do we know what the annual cost is for this?
Did at the last meeting. I'd have to get that for you. I don't remember. I don't want to speak.
185, 185.
I think the 180 is the total between Barrytown and Northfield.
Oh, okay, yeah, so around like 150. For Barrytown.
I believe it's around that number, the exact number.
So the current population based on the 2020 census is 2,849 people at $65 is 185, 185.
7/8 of that is us and 8.
Yeah. And the 180 number is total between the two.
Okay. I know it's gonna be like a future discussion. But wrapping in the fire department with the town. And is there in the future a talk about having that be part of?
If it's the board's wish to have that in the talk, we'll be talking real soon about
That kind
that
of,
and what it looks like if it's 5 or 10 years from now, or.
yeah, no, that's what I mean, not
Yeah,
talking like.
Yeah.
I mean, we,
can it be? Yeah, absolutely.
right, wrap that into the town.
Yeah.
Joe?
I would just say, maybe you look at your staffing needs as far as fire goes before we start talking about.
No, and I agree with you 100% on that. I just didn't know when we start wrapping the fire department in with the town, if that was part of the discussion being and saying that back in 2013, you did provide a bid for this. That was just a question we had for what the future.
We'd have to do like a cost benefit analysis as well and all that in the plan, but
Stone Shore would help out with that. Yeah.
yes, if you're asking me that today, I'll start that today, yes.
How do we compare with the other towns that are with us as far as, I guess, number wise? Are you busier in Berlin than other places that are tied in?
Berlin and Berrytown are pretty close. It's in, I'd have to pull out my annual reports. They're our busiest two towns, and then Williamstown. And they peter down from there, but I think Berlin was 1,100 calls last year. Berrytown was 900 and something. I don't have it in front of me, but
Yeah.
It's, I send a report every, I think it's in your annual report.
Yeah, well, that was the last time we talked, there was 1,117.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if that was high or low compared to the
High.
towns that are in. So,
It's,
I guess I'm being inquisitive.
well, it gets into you know, there's 1,117 requests for service, right? And then, you know, this Joe can probably tell you, like, there's slide ups on the interstate, all those are included. There's, you know, so calls or requests versus transports or non-billable calls are a drastically different
All
number.
right, thank you.
So that's the total request for emergency services.
Okay.
I second Carla's motion with the caveat for the additional information after speaking with the attorney, the justification documentation.
In favor?
Aye,
Opposed? Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks.
Vince, if you need anything from me, just.
I will, for sure, Dave. Thank you.
Zoning slash.
Thank you.
assistant.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Enjoy your night.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you. Thank you. Zoning and assistant town administrator job posting discussion and approval.
So quick update on that. It has been posted and already received three
Oh, wow.
interests. Two out of state, one in state, I believe. Haven't reviewed it. So I think we just need to ratify that this can be posted, because I posted it, obviously, before this meeting. So shame on me, but I wanted to get it out today.
I was wondering why it said approval.
Needs to be ratified.
I thought maybe that was voted on last time after I left the meeting.
No. It wasn't.
No,
I did get it on VLCT on Friday. That prompted one of the applicants from out of state as well. So people are looking from all over. That's a good sign. And again, I'm writing back to all the candidates that applied, just so the board knows that basically giving them a summary of the interview process that we're going to go through. Since they're out of state, the first one, there'll be an interview panel, and I would encourage, if there's any member of the board that want to participate, to let me know. What's that?
I do.
Okay, great. So everybody's okay. I'll keep Kyle informed, and we have
Everybody else is
we
so bad.
develop a series of questions that we score everybody equally to. We ask everybody the same questions in the first round, right? And score them. And what I'm telling them is the top three applicants will go to the second round. We'll do the same thing for the second round, and then we'll pick two. And in that last round of the two top candidates, we may, depending on the board's opinion and where they're located, request an in-person interview for that final interview and decision. That's what I'm telling them right now. Again, it's subject to change, obviously, but that's what I'm telling the process is going to be and how we're going to score them and choose the candidate.
Very good.
I would recommend that we do something similar that we did with administrative position and have them come here and meet with the other staff and all that, the department heads. I mean, I know it's a little different position, but I think it's important. We can talk about that, I guess.
Yes, we can. I'm
Maybe
open
it's-
to whatever you want to try. I'm just thinking that, out-of-state candidates, if they're coming from Midwest or such, might be a challenge, but how bad do they want the job as well, I guess?
Well, I mean, I get that, but I'm assuming they're willing to move here. They don't think it's virtual, right? They don't think it's a,
It's not, they know it's not a
Okay.
remote position. No,
Okay.
it's on site, so they'll,
okay, just making sure.
That's huge.
yeah,
Should do that.
definitely not.
I mean, I can understand somebody not wanting to fly here for an interview from a long distance,
So
so
it's,
we should talk about it, I guess.
it is moving forward if there is interest.
Figured at least be a Zoom meeting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the first one at least, probably, and then if they make it through that one, then again, if we get down to the final two, they can both come in.
Yeah, I
that
think
point.
the key for me is that we do them all the same.
Yep.
One person can't come in person, then you can't have
No,
the other one come.
exactly.
Mhm.
And if you're on the committee, then you always have to be on the committee. You don't make one interview.
Right, exactly,
We
exactly.
got to schedule them all,
Right.
right? With
Is
the
there
same interview committee.
application deadline for this?
No.
Okay.
No, not yet. Can certainly set one. We can make a cutoff date. Be happy for that.
Have we had any confirmation from Tom as far as when he,
You had any other
I
further
haven't talked to him.
conversations with him either? So,
okay,
again, it's early as June, as late as August is the last that I have from him in writing. And any conversations that you had with
Yeah, I
him
haven't
since
had any
then, so.
lately.
just with that, I'm just thinking if we have the deadline to kind of, what do you think? That's not,
No, I think it's good to have a deadline. It's clear.
Agreed.
I would recommend, well, you can still interview without a deadline.
Yeah, yeah, no, we can start the interviews. I'd like to start the interviews. If we got 3 candidates already next week.
And somebody from the planning commission should obviously participate, I think, too.
We can talk about.
Yeah. But yeah, we can-
If you're the board rep, we can talk after about what the committee will be made up of.
I'd like to
If we
be,
want to do it.
I'd like to be on that committee as well. Yes, correct.
Likewise.
Earlier in the
Yeah.
meeting, you guys were talking about making sure job descriptions were updated. Is this a job description that had been updated already?
Yes,
Sort of, yeah. Not in the process, obviously, but it was updated.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear, if anybody's monitoring the screen for anybody online, but has VLCT been brought in for this? Have you consulted with them for the hiring of the assistant?
we've actually, yes, and the job was first reviewed and posted at VLCT as well.
Right, but are they helping with the hiring process and the interview process?
No, not yet, not at this time.
We haven't done that before, to my knowledge. I didn't even know that was a,
I think they charge for that. I think
Oh, they
that's
do?
outside of the-
Yeah,
Yeah, they may, but most of the towns I know have them involved. Sorry, identifying myself, Heather Collins, I'm here as a resident, but my official position is the wastewater program manager for the state of Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation.
thank you.
Thank you.
The
You have a question?
application deadline is May
Oh.
23rd, according to the VLCT posting.
yeah, that's a VLCT deadline.
Yeah.
I would have to repost after that if we go beyond that date. That's not one that the town set,
They only list it for a certain amount of time.
correct?
And I also seek to be on the committee. So
I guess we get the review committee.
that way we have the entire board if everyone wants to participate. Yes, you can.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
it's better be that.
I'm sure you all know the answer to this, but I'm interested, is this a replacement for a person that we already have? And this is not a new position, this is a replacement for Tom?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's
Yes,
gonna be retiring.
This is not something else?
Correct.
no, this is
Okay.
yeah. Replacement.
Well, I'll move to, did I already say that? I'll move to approve the job posting.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now. Capital Improvement Plan Review and Update.
And did that include the ratification that you said that was needed? Okay, very good.
Pretty cool.
Excellent.
So everybody have patience on this and bear in mind, this is the first time, right, that we're going through this process. I expect there to be some hiccups and a lot of questions and Ron and his expertise, if he's still on with us. Yes, he is. Will be able to jump in and help as well. The original plan was to kind of go through the projects and things first, but having taken a look at the CIP a little more in depth over the past couple of weeks and really, diving into it, that's probably not going to be the best and most efficient approach. And because it's so new, I'd like to go through and point out a few things while everyone is here as well to make it clear where this is going moving forward as well and how it needs to go. Because there is a process in the CIP to follow to do this as well. And I'm sure none of us are fully familiar with it yet. Again, our first time through. So I'm going to step through fairly quickly, but if you look at legal authority in 1.02 of the CIP document, it's going to talk a lot about the planning commission's role in this process, right? Any planning commission created under this chapter, which ours was, prepare and present a recommended capital budget and program for a period of 5 years, as set forth under section 4440 of the title, the statute that's quoted there, for action by the legislative body, which is the board, as set forth under the section of this. So again, going forward, I've already talked to Gordon a bit, saying he and I need to sit and talk a little bit because I'm learning this. He's coming on board. This was just developed. There's a big role for the planning commission in this as well, right? So it's not just town staff, but it's planning commission staff as well that has got some work to do with this. So that was one key thing I wanted to point out. Other legal requirements, questions the board may have in 1.04, a municipality may levy an impact fee on new development within its borders. So again, that's already incorporated in here, an incorporated capital budget program. And then in
Vince, that was one, I have.
104, sorry, I'm on the wrong
103.
paragraph, yeah. So capital budget list and describe the capital projects to be undertaken during the upcoming fiscal year, the estimated cost of those projects, the proposed method of financing, a capital program plan of capital projects proposed to be undertaken during each of the following 5 years with the estimated cost and the proposed method of financing. And it's more than is any one of the following: any physical betterment or improvement, including furnishings, machinery, apparatus, and so on. Any preliminary studies and surveys related to physical improvements, land or rights in land, and any combination of subdivisions of the subsection here. The capital budget program shall be arranged to indicate the order of priority of each capital project and purchases, and to state for each project all of the following: a description of the proposed project and estimated total cost. The proposed method of financing, indicating the amount proposed to be financed by direct budgetary appropriation of duly established reserve funds, the amount, if any, to be financed by impact fees, and the amount to be financed by the issuance of obligations showing the proposed types or types of obligations, together with the period of probable usefulness for which they're proposed to be issued, and an estimate of the effect, if any, upon operating costs of the municipality. The Planning Commission may submit recommendations annually to the legislative body for the capital budget and program that shall be in conformance with the municipal plan. So it starts with the plan to the CIP, from planning to the board for approval to include all of this information that we just said, right? Again, it's the process. We're all learning it, myself included. There will be a document that follows for making capital improvement. And there may even be a template already existing that Ron has shared with us, recommendations to the board on that provides that information. It even goes on to say admin changes. And it tells you what admin is allowed to change, which is basically only a decrease in cost. And there was one other item in there.
Corrections to.
Yeah, administrative corrections in the document itself. So that should hopefully clear up a lot of questions. That's why we're here and where we're going with this as well. Before we actually get into.
Are you ready for
Existing.
questions yet?
Not yet,
Oh,
but,
okay.
but we're getting close. And again, I won't read all of this, but I will point out it's worth reading is in the section 3 of the departments in the introduction. Again, there's a process for each department head to input to this, whether it's to planning or to me, as well, and how to move that forward through the board. So again, it's important to read and understand that. You'll see why when you look at it. There's a process for the section 5, the project list, prior to being added to the CIP. This is a question that I know would have been asked if I didn't read this first. All projects will need to be deemed eligible for inclusion in the capital budget and program by the select board. It's considered eligible when the select board determines that the nature of the project is consistent with the purpose and intent of the planned funding source as approved by the voters or otherwise required by law. It advocates for projects should submit sufficient information to the board to allow the board to set priorities, timing, and assign funding in the context of all town projects. Pretty straightforward, right? Something, again, that we've talked about. We haven't been doing a good job about. This lays out the rules to help us, if we follow it, to do a good job at exactly what we've been talking about, right? So again, I would, and that's just the first portion of it. I would suggest that you take a look at it when you have the time. Section 6, maintenance and funding of the capital budget. Why we're here tonight and started, right? This requires, at a minimum, the process an annual update schedule. We're here tonight because I think if we wait a year, we've waited too long for this because it's so new. We should probably, my recommendation to the board is quarterly, every 3 months, at least have a look at it. Bring Mr. Clow in to give us an update if things have changed, priorities have changed, whatever the case may be. But this also gives you an annual schedule that we can follow as well, so that when it does come budget time, it's not chaos and we're all scrambling to do this. It happens throughout the year to be ready for. And then that one's a note for Tim. There's some updates there that I'm going to sit with Tim on to prepare before we invite him to sit at the table with the board, and I'll work with him on that. But it's the 5-year road plan all needs to be adjusted. The 5-year paving plan all needs to be adjusted. There's a lot of work there with regards to that that we're just not ready for to put in front of the board yet.
Yeah.
So we need to be very, very soon. And then once the board is done, public hearing, again, there's in there to present it to the public, get any input before it gets final approval. Public input, obviously, that's part of the plan. So that was the easy part.
And Ron might be the one that has to answer these questions, but, so when I made these notes 2 weeks ago, so I'm not entirely sure I remember what they were referring to, but I know one of them has to do with the fact that we made changes to the voted on capital planning. And it sounds as though we have to amend it. There's a formal process to amend it. Is that true, Ron?
Yeah, usually what happens, there's a statutory process where you're making promises for lack of a better word, when you adopt that CIP. So if you decide that there's an issue, there's no funding, there's a technical delay, material problems, something's going to push or cancel the project, or something brand new that just comes out that's a high priority for the town. You could have all sorts of activity that doesn't follow an annual update. You should go through an amendment process. The only amendment process you have now are those administrative minor things that Vince went over before. There was no way to add a large project except for the formal process, and the formal process is really about the planning commission verifying that the changes are consistent with the town plan. And when Vince read the statute, the planning commission role is really watching the town plan goals that are also voted on to
Yeah.
make sure that the select board is following through with those. So let's say you had a town plan, a very specific project that was in the plan as a goal for the 8-year window of your plan. The select board still decides when to implement that. But the planning commission would say, hey, you're proposing a 2-year delay on this project between this amended CIP and the original CIP. Well, let's talk about what that means to the community, because we were waiting for that project to happen. And is there any way that we can, change the board's mind, or can we get back to the town plan goal or whatever, so that is a discussion that is I don't, it's a counterbalance to a select board not considering those things. So if this, let's say the select board for purely reasons they don't like a project wants to pull something, but the community has already said, we want this done next year, there's going to be a little pull and tug there, because it is a select board final decision, but the planning commission's role is about the implementation of the town plan. So if something's going astray, either time-wise or canceling a project, they that's their role. So yeah, it's a two-step process. The planning commission should look at changes, write an opinion, a memo to the board at your amendment hearing, and then you still make that final decision at the hearing.
Okay, sounds like last week. All right, so as far as the changes, when we were going through the budget and moved some things to next year, I guess what I'm asking is, what are we supposed to do now about that? Or do we have to do anything?
You're not forced to do anything. The
Okay.
health of the plan is keeping it up to date. And Vince might be able to do this administratively on his own. If you make a decision in December, that's, because you just adopted the capital plan in November, the board makes a decision December to delay one of those projects, you should be concerned that something didn't happen properly at the hearing because it's so close.
Yeah. Okay.
And Vince might make a note of that on the plan and say, oh, okay, that was a small change, but when we get 2 or 3 or 4 of these things, we have to have a hearing to update the plan.
Okay.
Some boards will get really close to their fall readoption, that they bundle some changes all together just naturally. You don't have to go back hearing after hearing after hearing to keep it very accurate.
Okay.
CIP. It's almost impossible to do that.
And I don't know if it's gonna be helpful, but I would want to hear this if I was a new member. So there's a couple things that we talked about were the minimum. I think we're at $10,000.
Right.
And sort of the forward thinking, like how you talked about the town deciding how it wants to function. Does it want to only use money that we have in reserves? Does it want to borrow money? You kind of talked about that a little bit one meeting?
Yeah, I mean, the funding part of the CIP includes a select board philosophical component to do cash only, to find impact fee revenue, to make sure lot revenue goes towards the CIP, and work out of loans. That could be a philosophical objective. It may take some time, especially if you're going out for more loans all the time. It's sort of like, getting off the train is a philosophical thing that may take some time. But if you say that, then when you draft the CIP, you're making decisions in the CIP to get off the loans. So you incrementally implement that kind of a select board mandate or objective. If you're not talking about it, some people think loans are the norm because philosophically a loan is pushing the burden of a capital asset onto the users of that asset. So other philosophies are pay as you go. You pay cash when you want to do something. And it's sometimes it's cheaper to do it that way than take out the interest loan. So yes, the board should make some overall directives in those decisions about where you want to end up at some point. Do you want to do a certain maximum loan? You know, 2% of your grand list or something, or some, magical number, or do you want to get to zero? That kind of, so if you're not having those discussions, you probably should, because you don't want to start putting so much loans on your CIP just to make the CIP happen that you end up, paying tons of interest on things you could be doing otherwise with that money.
And right now, the minimum for being included in the CIP is 10,000, correct?
Yes, that's the federal number that changed from 5,000 a couple of years ago. The other variable that you have, which is really it's a question for your staff, is managing the CIP. Right now, there's a couple hundred items in there, old items, new items. If you want to reduce the scope of work on your CIP, you can have a $50,000 threshold for buildings. You can have a 10,000 for most items. You can say, we don't want to see police cruisers in the CIP because they're going to be replaced every year. We know that we're going to do one a year. So why plan for that? That's going to be our capital equipment replacement cycle parallel to the CIP. So you can make the CIP process just a little bit easier by focusing on large projects, and then you have your operating budget take care of everything else.
Thank you. I just thought, I know that was, when I heard that, I was like, oh, these are things that we have to be thinking about. So I just wanted to make sure you were all aware of that.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, no, this is a little bit of learning for all of us on this one. So as I said, it's not going to be without its pain.
I think my other sort of big issue, well, not a big issue, but is understanding what our reserves are. I don't know if we've gotten there yet. But that's kind of a big question
Yeah,
for me.
Question I had too.
So the summary I have is that the summary of the CIP that I have here, is that updated? It hasn't changed. It says 39% from town capital reserves, taxpayer contributions, 39% from state and federal grants.
Yeah, that was at the time of the development.
Has that changed?
Probably, not officially, but I think overall, probably.
Probably that one.
Yeah.
We got more money,
Okay, this one out, right?
Mhm.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this project was very important to me. I was, one of the first pushers of the town developing this CIP. We've got a lot of great projects going on. And I envision this as a plan that would be utilized continually by all the boards and departments in town. Not just something that's going to sit on the shelf and collect dust and then, updated, whenever we get around to it. As Tom alluded to last week, with the town plan, the town has a lot of great success, implementing the strategies in the town plan. Also in the economic development plan, I think that's what it's called. A lot of success in implementing the strategy that I envision the same as this plan, that is going to incorporate, be a truly comprehensive plan. And, in conjunction with the town plan, the new town center capital improvement plan, the wastewater asset management plan, the drinking water asset management plan, the local hazard mitigation plan, which was just adopted, the Riverton transfer-oriented development, potentially projects in there, including our culvert inventory, grid inspection reports, guardrail inventory. There's a lot of opportunities in there that I think should be combined into this one comprehensive plan that we can go through and, keep it updated, work, when you do your budgets each fall, keep it updated and give us a guide, what we expect this year, what we can expect next year, and everything like that. And I offered my assistance to Vince that help with this process as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Good
I'm gonna
summary,
need it.
Dor. I do think there's a lot of different studies that we have that are different, like the culvert replacement. We had that all done and then it just kind of sat, I think, and didn't wasn't incorporated into any of the, the funding
Mhm.
mechanism. So I think there's a lot of opportunities.
And like Tom, I mentioned, several times, historically, we've not done a good job of taking care of our stuff and, problems have been identified to us and we sat on them. I mean, Murchison Road culvert,
Yeah.
that's been an issue for 10 years. Now it's completely failed. The Fisher Road culvert, 3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah.
was another example. Loverstein Bridge, that's been closed for 10 years or will be by the time
Gets,
it's done. So, I think it behooves us to be more proactive in taking care of our stuff and we need a good plan to be able to do that.
No, I agree 100%. I think this board, we all agree with that
Yeah.
too.
a lot of work.
And we're just beginning.
No, trust me, I know.
Just beginning. So that leads me into, really, I think for this first round with the CIP, it's probably, again, with the board's agreement, I will be putting this on for probably at least an hour for the next 3 to 4 board meetings to get through it. Again, I will give you, we're not going to get through much tonight, to be fair. I think gaining an understanding and a way forward is key to tonight. That's my recommendation. At this point, I've got a package here. It's easier to read than this, but should contain everything that's on here. That's broken out by admin, highway, planning, and so on. The only thing I would say is I'd like to give planning the floor, Mr. Chair, to talk about their projects of where they are. Again, so we have an understanding going forward. If we could start thinking about prioritization and where the funding's coming from and what the status is of those, because again, they're key in this as well. And then sit down, answer any questions, send me any questions you have on these, and to give you more information if needed. And then we can sit down and say, okay, we're going to go through fire department, we're going to go through police next, we're going to go through admin next. We'll set a list of how we want to process through each one of these to get them finalized. And then I get the big fun of updating the document and bringing it to you for review again, and then a public hearing. So I will give you these. You have a question, sir?
I just have a general question about
Thank you.
the overview that you gave for the process. And I want to make sure I'm hearing things right. It sounded like when you approve the capital plan, it's going to have 5 years worth of plans in there, but then we're going to be able to look at each year individually as you go along. So I don't know if that's what you said, Vince, but it almost sounds like we're approving something and then we're setting ourselves up to check year by year. Is that what's happening?
In a quick summary, the easy answer is yes, right? We're having a vision ahead
Okay,
of the projects, the plans. For example, as Ron mentioned, police cruisers, right? That's a capital expenditure, but it's every year. We can manage that. Dump trucks for the highway, right? Every year. But then there's projects, the bigger projects, and you're going to hear about some of them from planning in just a minute, right? And what is the priority for those? Is this going to happen in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, right? And it's in the plan. We understand what the cost is going to be, where that funding is coming from in the plan. Now, something happens, right? Town office burns down,
Culvert.
right? Or, yeah. or-
I'm thinking about how locked in are the things that are in that plan. It sounds like they're locked in, but it sounds like the approach to achieving these projects is flexible year by year.
Not only is the approach, but again, so is the project itself in the timeline, as long as it goes back to the voters, right?
I just
When we do
I
this,
just don't want to hear
anytime-
somebody say, well, you voted that in the town plans or
you
the,
voted it in, you can vote it out, essentially, right?
okay.
At some point. Right?
And I also heard the select board approves whatever goes in as projects early in the game before
They approve,
those projects are developed.
right? And then once it's in, once it's revised, right? It goes back to the public again as well, as Ron said, right?
It sounds like fun.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Is this draft document available to the public?
It's online.
Oh,
It's absolutely.
It's not a
available.
draft, it's been approved.
This is not a draft. This is the first
Okay.
one ever. As Tor said, they put a lot of work into it. And now there's a lot of work to true it up.
And the other thing that I want to say, which is just big picture, it's like, where does this go at the town meeting vote? I don't think the capital plan should be included in the overall budget because no one wants to vote down the town budget. You know, we want the town clerk to be there, the police to be, we want all the normal functions.
Yeah.
But this should be,
This is a separate public hearing to be approved.
but is it,
The dollars and cents in there will be approved in the budget, right?
well, could those items be separate from the town budget, but listed as items to be approved on the town warning? That's what I hope you'll look at that possibility. Simply because
I don't think I have a good answer for that. I may have to
Yeah,
refer to the expert, Ron.
you're gonna be here every week every meeting for the next 6 meetings, and I'll ask. that.
No, yeah, no, Vince, I think the answer is that the state laws set up for capital plans are, select board has a hearing and makes a decision on what projects are in the 6-year window. It's a 5-year window is your look forward program, and the first year is your budget year. So it's a 6-year overall plan. The budget year, when you get done with this readoption, is the one that may or may not have impacts on your operating budget. So for example, some towns will bring in debt service, interest payments into the operating budget, even if all the other expenses were paid by grants or, and loans that aren't due right away. You may have a capital project that's approved for that budget year, but the funding doesn't really hit until year 2, 3, 4. Your operating budget usually will have interest payment for that construction loan or a bridge loan, something like that. So the voters don't necessarily approve the projects, they approve the funding for the project. So you could have, there's been towns that put huge funding stacks together on a project, and then it comes down to a $200,000 loan question to the voters and they vote that down. They may support the project, but they don't want to take out a $200,000 loan to make up the final piece of your funding stack. So that's it. See the slight difference there where the voters may have some authority over a project, but it may not be in the classic Article 5 says, do you want to build something? It generally isn't that. It's the funding question that gets put forward.
And I just want to go back to the fundamentals of how important the town plan is. And I know you know that, you've been involved with the town, but I think being involved in the town plan process helps to direct what projects, because that's where it's outlined what projects are going to go forward. And then I think we sort of get, then there's a commitment to those for the voters by the vote. So I really encourage people, anybody listening, get involved in the town plan process, because that's where a lot of these decisions start from, and that is voter approved.
I think part of Stu's question, correct me if I'm wrong, Stu, but is when a project just gets put into the general and the townspeople vote on the general budget, but they don't agree with that particular project, they don't essentially have a voice. They're agreeing to the budget, but not everybody's reading
The fine print.
the fine print. And that's your question. If there's a $400,000 project, you want to individually circle that dot,
Yes.
yay or nay.
Mhm.
And I agree,
I mean,
and I think we all do. We shouldn't be clustering projects into the general. I don't agree with that. And I don't know what the legalities are with setting the projects up when it's time to vote as individual line items, but I think they should be. I think that's that's how you're gonna get the most feedback from the taxpayer.
But can you imagine a situation where I don't live on Crosstown Road and only the residents of Crosstown Road vote to pave Crosstown Road?
Mhm.
So, I mean, is that fair? If we decide that
Yeah,
it's
if it
a
affects-
priority in the town?
If it affects all the taxpayers, yeah, and it's not to the town's benefit.
Well, no, but I'm using that as an example because I think
I think it's a
sometimes
great example.
specific projects may be necessary from a town perspective, but if you.
That's right.
And I think and I'm not disagreeing that things shouldn't get called out. I just think that it depends on where it originates because we have to be part of the process, the whole planning process, and we shouldn't have projects on there that we don't want to go forward.
But it's
You know, there are people that say, I don't have children in school. Why do I pay school
Right.
taxes? Well, having those children educated benefits us all. Whether you live on Crosstown Road or not, it benefits everyone because we pretty much all use that.
Right, but my point being, it could get voted down because only the people that live on it. I mean, I'm just using that as an example that came into my mind. I understand the rationale. I just think it can sometimes work to the disadvantage of getting things done that the town decides need to get done. But this is a different conversation.
But the town is the people that are paying footing the bill.
But I think all that's covered. If we look at the details in here, starting with the town plan, right? And how the projects are developed, how they come into the CIP, right? They go through public hearings, right? And then the board puts a priority to that from the public hearings. They either make it into the CIP or they may not make it even that far. If they make it in there, then we've gone through the process. The majority of residents surely must want it if it makes it here, right?
I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, it's hard. I mean, when we were doing the town plan last time, you have to rely on the feedback that you get, but when you don't get a lot of feedback, you just have to move forward. So I'm just pointing out that sometimes it's a struggle
It's
to really.
difficult to swallow when, say, 50 residents vote to approve something
Right,
out of
right.
1,000.
And that's
let's say,
not what
voting
I would
residents.
prefer, but that's sometimes
But
what happens.
But again, that's what the board has to base their decisions on, right? If it does go to a vote
Right.
or public hearing feedback and the majority say yes, the majority that show up and vote say yes, we followed the process,
Yeah.
right or wrong.
Right, no, I agree. I'm just trying to point out some of the pitfalls of.
The
Of the
the
whole
concern is
plan.
we haven't had a good process for projects and stuff until.
Well, yeah, that's why we did it.
I think line item, big tickets for the tax people to decide is essential.
Yeah, like the town garage,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's gonna be an article on it.
that was a big number,
Yeah.
and they should be separate line items.
Having information really clear to people is helpful. And although it's been about 4 months since I read that plan, that is about one of the most unreadable documents I've ever read. I'm truly, I appreciated the fact in the beginning, it talked about how different people call this kind of plan different things,
Mhm.
right? But then throughout the document, it kept calling it different things. And I'm like, wait, are we still talking about this? Or are we talking about something else? And you guys always refer to it in the same way. Why shouldn't it be referred to the same way throughout the document to make sure that we know what we're talking about? So, and some of the details, like I said, it's been 4 months since I've looked at it, but some of the details, it just really wasn't clear how some of these decisions were being made. Like when you're saying these are the roads that need the attention in the next 5 years, who made that decision? It would be helpful to say that if you're gonna say this is what's being decided on. So I'm gonna have to look back at, mark it up, but I was in such a bad mood after reading that thing. I'm just like, oh my God, I don't think anybody else has read it. And I don't recall it being mentioned at that town meeting. It wasn't this town meeting, I don't think, but the one before. Nobody explained where you could find it online to read it if you wanted to.
Right.
And it's in there under documents, but you have to know to look for it to see it, because people aren't quick, whether it's on the front of the website or on the Facebook page. they don't often point people to where to find stuff. You might say, oh, it's on the town website, but where on the town website?
Just so you know, on the town website, we're working on that for improvements as well, like adding a search bar, and it's on there now at the bottom.
Mm.
And if you type in capital improvement project, it should bring you to that spot now. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's there now for just that reason, because it's so hard to find things now. That proposal was made and it's there, and there's more to come.
And I don't think we can go wrong with.
Top as opposed to the bottom?
With that, we're working on it.
Great.
First, let's get it on.
Right.
We got it on
I
there.
don't think we can go wrong though, increasing our transparency in any way.
No,
In any way,
Exactly.
line item, if it's website,
Again,
whatever.
the good news is we've got the process now.
Right.
Let's refine it, make it work for everybody. That being said, right, I'd still like to give planning some time to talk about some of the projects so they're in your mind. You can start thinking about it for the next meeting when we really dig into this. And to start off the next meeting, I'll probably ask how the board wants to approach it, right? Do they want to tackle the tough stuff first? Save the light stuff for last? And the reason I'm asking that is so I can have the right head of departments here when we go through their department's review to answer the questions.
Excuse me.
Okay, awesome, that helps. So can I, thank you for your permission, I'd like to turn it over to Tom and Gordon. Yes, sir. Talk about.
We have at the moment 4 projects in process. Major projects, the sidewalks, that you're all familiar with, but it's cost about 2 million. We got 1.6 million in grant funds. So 400,000 out of pocket. We are hoping to get either low option paths or community housing infrastructure program. Riverton Village wastewater program. The expectation is, sorry, let me back up a bit. The hope out of that, the sidewalk project is that will support up to 25 residential units. And again, the whole plan is to try to build up the grand list and have more opportunities for housing within Berlin, but have the housing where we want it to be. In the Riverton wastewater program, we create water capacity for about 24 residential units. That's a cost of 1.2 million, with a grant for 1.1 million. So there's 900,000 out of pocket. We have some other sources with the community, the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. We have CHIP program might be an option.
1 point.
And we would want,
I think it is 2.
the idea really is that the users of the wastewater program would be the ones who would be paying for anything that is not already covered by the grants. For the, another project is a town center 3.8 acre development. This is a really long-term thing, but we wanted to create a 10,000 square foot town administrative office. And we'd be shooting for 15 market rate apartments at the cost of about 15 million. At the moment, we've got grant funds on the order of 3 million. We're looking at private equity, CHIP, and local options tax to make up the rest. And we're hoping that this can happen within the time frame of the next 5 years. And the final big project that is under exploration is the purchase of 95 acres between Midway Drive and Vine Street to be a community park, because for the purpose of this being to attract young families to Berlin, provide more amenities for families that would be attracted to more young people here. So that's a like to recap of major projects that are in the works right now.
Tom, or Gordon, do you want to talk about what that land, how that came about? Because I think that's important. The park idea and the who owns the land, and that's the solar place, right? The solar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just this one I was just read the ad. Thank you. I'm one short. All the projects that the planning commission
Sure.
has,
Fine.
planning commission has, I think is. Doors. Either an element of
I got it.
increasing the grand list or covering the cost of projects through grants. As we heard last meeting, we about $13 million, $13.5 million in grants in the last 13 years for various projects. Some of them are listed on here, other projects that have been completed already. So the view of increasing the grand list, as you know, that's how we pay for other things in the town. That's how we pay for road improvement, right? So building the town garage does not add value to the grand list, right? So we need to figure out ways to pay for that town garage without going to the taxpayers by two ways. You're looking for grant funding or local option tax funding or dollars that don't come out of taxpayers' pockets, or building assets that create more grand lists. A 100-room hotel will have an estimated value of $15 million for the grand list. But, you know, you can do the math. It's a significant amount of revenue from that. We do have to get through this reappraisal. It's been really hurting Berlin. It's made our tax base stagnant for many, many years. We've got to get through this reappraisal. After that reappraisal, that $15 million hotel will throw off about $110,000 a year for the select board's use. It's not the school taxes. This is grand list value, $110,000. You could look at what $110,000 pays for if you want to borrow over the next 30 years. It's a significant amount of capital improvements that you can do. And so the direction from both administration and from the planning commission to staff here in town is we do projects that improve the grand list, and we do projects that we can pay the majority with grant funding. And so and again, I think you look at this was reflected in here. You look at what's done in the past. It's just a culmination of the philosophy of past administrations and the planning commission for the last 10, 15 years.
You field some questions?
I can't.
Because I want to wrap my head around. I heard you mention CHIP program. I'm very unfamiliar with
Community Housing Infrastructure Program.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with what a TIF is, TIF tax increment financing.
Sure.
This is the baby of CHIP is the baby of TIF.
Oh, okay.
TIF is usually, neighborhoods wise.
Right.
CHIP is project wise. So it could be up for $500,000 project where TIF projects are many multiple billions of dollars. And I've said this before, and I've encouraged the select board to invite down the town manager from the city of St. Albans and just have him talk about how they have used these various programs to significantly improve their community, significantly add to the grand list that then allows them to do these projects. I keep saying this, U.S. selectmen should not be afraid of debt. Debt is a good thing if you manage it wisely. If you build an asset that you get more value out of what you built to pay off the debt, that's a good thing. You have a net balance of more money going to other projects, right? We want to do a crosstown road improvement. There is no grand list value to that, but you've got to add projects that'll throw off cash to pay for it. Else, if you're having the consumers, the taxpayers pay for all these projects that don't add grand list, it's going to become unattainable. It's just you're not going to get projects done.
Thank you.
Ask a question about the big hotel.
Were you asking that to Vince?
Yeah. Are they getting any tax break for the first 5 years as an incentive to have them build, or, are we gonna be able to tax them right away?
They are in the tax stabilization for 5 years.
Okay, so they're getting a break for 5 years.
I think the town of Berlin's getting a break for them coming here, but
Is there anything that says that hotel? I'm not up to speed on the project, but if that doesn't shake out as a hotel, can that become housing? Or will it become
I have
housing?
to go through a different permitting process. They've been permitted for
For a hotel.
the hotel.
So it'll be a permit change or request for a change.
Any other questions for the planning?
Has planning taken into consideration with the reappraisal, there's gonna be a property tax increase, I'm sure. People are gonna be paying on outbuildings they've had and haven't been paying tax and home upgrades, so that's gonna create a higher burden on the taxpayer, where I don't see many of these projects changing things enough that the improvement's gonna outweigh people's burden. And these all actually come at an additional burden on every taxpayer.
Yes, you want me to try to?
Sure.
So the vast majority of our grand list is not residential, it's commercial property, right? And so that's where the majority of the tax, so those increases in those taxes, and there's increases that will be increases on both sheds and things like that. But the thought is the value that these commercial are gonna bring is gonna, at the end of the day, likely offset the impact of small residential stuff.
But we're given 5-year breaks to,
For one project, it's for one.
well, it's one project today, but we're looking at
One project today.
improving multiple
Well,
projects,
but-
building multiple
But
projects.
but again, nobody has applied for that. And it's the Economic Development Council makes a decision and they bring this to Select Board. Select Board has the final say on this.
And I think that was the third or fourth project over the past 10 years. So, and that was what, 3 years ago that was approved. So it's not like they're coming all the time asking for these
Yeah.
breaks.
Mhm. Scott?
Yeah, so in terms of the reappraisal and changing values, yes. So the idea is the reappraisal values will go up,
Doesn't mean the
but the
tax rate.
CLA number will change, which changes that tax rate. So it may not necessarily, depending on how it is, increase taxes, I think, as much as people are worried about. It kind of balances out.
Yeah, because when all the values go up, it's some, if they're undervalued now, some will pay more. But I think, there's also people that will pay less because their houses didn't increase in value as much as the average.
That you
So,
calculate the.
yeah.
I think in
The tax rate.
2008 taxes rates, it still went up, right? I think there were a lot of us hopeful that we'd see it better after that reappraisal, and it wasn't.
Hmm.
That's the way I remember it. I'm not sure about it.
There's some research.
And where are we with that reappraisal?
Long overdue.
Yeah,
Can't get anybody to do it.
it's supposed to start, I believe, in
I mean,
2028
right away.
and finish in
Yeah.
2030. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is true.
Well, on the list at least.
Yep.
There's only like
Countywide
one
reappraisal.
company.
So the benefit from this, the
Yeah,
hotel
exactly.
will be like 2030, really, when we start to see that effect.
Full value of it, correct?
Yeah.
But it'll take them a year and a half to do.
A year and a half to build it. Okay.
I have a
Maybe like
final
2027.
question. I'm wondering, the apartments over the proposed new municipal building, I'm wondering about that, because for as much as I fully understand the need of housing. I mean, had a difficult time myself finding housing. I'm just wondering what the thought process is of having apartments over a municipal building, because the first thing that comes to my mind is much more of a possibility of fires, of burst pipes and water coming down, parking issues. I just am thinking all kinds of awful things that I don't think are necessarily preventable. So I'm just wondering how that came about.
Unfortunately, the value of land is just skyrocketed, right? It's just skyrocketed. So the cost to develop a first floor building like today, it's prohibitive. So if you want to do a building like this, you got to use this, but you got to go higher. And the higher adds, which is, so what could you put on top of a municipal building, which would tie to our town plan, and that's residential units. And so that's the sole driver, is the cost of the land and the unavailability of it. Just floodplains and all that. It's just.
Is it possible to do something like offices or something instead? Because I think fire and plumbing issues and parking issues and just all kinds of issues. And just recently there were some issues over between Fox Run and Chestnut Place that has everybody a little nervous.
If you look at the vacancies in downtowns now,
Yeah.
they're former offices.
Commercial space.
It's just, there's a work at home, there's, the digital employment. You could make offices out of it. I think it would be a more riskier gamble on your dollar to get a return on it.
So Berlin's proposing to be a landlord.
This is Tom Badowski's opinion. So we would do a private partnership, and that private entity would be the landlord.
But it's still town property.
Would be taxed as a fully taxable property.
Am I right in thinking something went out that got no response because of unsure federal money?
I don't know why.
Just didn't get a response.
It just didn't get a response.
Okay, good. Are there any other questions for the planning commission? Yeah, I think.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you much.
I'll be in touch, Gordon. I'm kind of keep some homework.
Yeah, it is easy to read.
It's right there. Yeah.
That will find.
Thank you, Gordon.
Have a good evening, Gordon.
Thank you.
Funny things. Put a flow chart of a path showing the project to accompany the CIP. That help understand how the different parts come together. In other words, first this, then this, if you do this for that.
It's possible, yeah. And there's a draft of a flow chart that doesn't. So
It is.
yeah, I might be able to get my hands on that. Thank you, Ron, by the way. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Minutes
Always help.
of April,
Always help.
minutes of April 13th, 2026. Approval.
I know Flo's gonna mention it. You've still got first and third Monday on here, and so.
Ding, 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 ding.
This week, all right,
Oh,
for the 27th.
the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's yeah. That was on me. I missed that one.
I had 3 typos. Use the fire department, second sentence, Smith made the motion. AOT grant agreement changes, 4th line down. Not heard we had a match on that amount. these vents.
There's capital.
Oh, yeah, and refrigerator doesn't be capitalized. Thank you. And then I was thinking that we were moving.
Are you making those notes on there?
Yes, and then under Capital City Stampede, first line, Conti shared this was for a yearly event. It says even. So I'll do those.
Shoot. Okay. So, when I get into the edits.
I don't know if Paul found any that I didn't find.
There wasn't anything
Okay.
else.
Okay.
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Approval of license permits, vouchers and applications.
Can I just ask a question before we read the thing? Vince, is it possible to add a department code that tells what department tells what department expenses are from? Is that something that we can incorporate in here, like to say where, I know this is this is the water thing, but like somewhere on here. No, well, that's water, but like somewhere that says this was for, highway, this was for, and I know sometimes the descriptions do that, but like, do you have codes? Is there a code in there somewhere that?
Not yet. We can put a comment in there though, but that's
Yeah.
coming with the revisions.
Okay, show the code,
Yeah.
but it's the code and the description.
Yeah.
It's not still exactly by.
So
It's
it starts.
it's not user friendly at this point.
It's a general fund code. The one basically makes it like an expense. So 80 is police,
Okay.
1 is fire. If it's 90 to 96, then that is highway.
Okay,
The codes that start with 80 are sewer. Anything that starts with an 88 is water. And then the office staff codes kind of bounce in those numbers, but if you look at it and it says it's in like between
Okay.
90 and 96 is highway. 80.
It's not easy. We could give you
Like a legend.
deciphering sheet.
yeah, I was just curious if it would make it easier, but
Again, the
Maybe
process
we'll
that
get-
we're working
yeah.
on for the
we can talk
revision,
about that.
they'll make it easy. They clearly do. Like, words.
I know you're working on it.
Anyone like to read the warranty?
Mr. Chris, would you like to read it today?
No.
Thank you. I just asked everyone the last time.
All right, I found out what you started.
Thanks for radio here. All right, who would you like me to start?
Thanks, Brian.
Your start? Is this for 6K2? That what it says?
26, 27.
Payroll warrant 2622 for payroll from April 5th, 2026 to April 18th, 2026. To be paid on April 22nd, 2026 in the amount of $73,103.57. Payroll warrant 26G25 with check number 26065 in the amount of $2,523.91. Payable warrant 26G26, check number 26066-26107 in the amount of $135,584.38. Payable warrant 26S19 with check number 4651 to 4662 in the amount of $28,698.93. Payable warrant 26G27 with check number E0002 to E0007 in the amount of $2,411.03. Bank reconciliations for general fund, July 2024 to October 2024. Bank reconciliations for sewer fund, July 2024 to November 2024.
Second.
I just have a couple questions.
Yes.
What is that? Solar?
I was gonna ask that too. For 983.
For Shed Road,
That's,
Is that KSI?
yeah.
yes,
That is, solar. What do you call it? Community solar farm.
Yep.
That the town
Oh.
participates in for the garage.
Oh, that's right, okay.
I think it's the main pump station, this one, and the waterworks.
yes.
Is the third. So you'll see 3 line items for that under 3 separate accounts.
Great
Okay.
question.
Exactly.
And what is Lamson's plowing? They plowing,
Fire
I think
department.
it's
Fire
oh,
department.
okay. Wow, that costs a lot of money. The Vermont Appraisal Company?
Listers,
Listers.
Oh, we pay them monthly?
yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I wasn't seeing them on there for a while. Okay. And then the phones and data for PD, is that the new thing we agreed to, or is that? Okay. That's all. I don't have those questions. Okay, that's it.
I had one in addition. It's AT&T mobility for $50.27.
For what? How much?
$50.27.
For AT&T mobility.
Is that on the?
Is that, which one?
I believe that's correct.
Christ.
Oh, Craig.
Craig.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. That's cheap,
Yeah.
right?
Must be good line.
You just said that, now the price is going up.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Before we start roundtable, I just want to mention there is an executive session tonight planned. That's why. Saw that, Carol.
You know me. That's my bedtime.
Already?
Yeah.
Sort it out, or was gonna?
Get them started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oops, sorry, everybody.
Any roundtable?
Yeah.
Starting with me? Yes, sir. I do have one thing I'd like to
15
share.
things you'd like to talk about.
In the session, there can be more discussion later, but for this one, so with the legal situation that we have, the Professional Regulations Committee, which is part of the Vermont Criminal Justice Committee, in case you haven't heard yet, they met regarding the issue, the complaint, and there was no finding of any unprofessional conduct by the officer. Will be executive session tonight on this, but wanted to make sure that was publicly known for those that have been maybe following the situation.
You're mixing them all up over there, you guys?
No, I'm keeping them
We're loaning.
as they're coming.
We're loaning a pen.
Oh,
You can go first if you want.
I was just gonna say that, what are these tonight?
There's more coming.
So I just want to bring to the attention of everybody that Vince and I have been working on the police contract for several months, negotiating. And we brought several things to the previous board to sort of get approval for, and I feel like we need to revisit what's happening, because I don't want to get to the end of this contract and decide that the board's gonna be not in favor of it.
I was truly hoping we would.
So I mean, we're not done, but I think we need to have a meeting, executive session to talk about,
Talk about contract?
yeah.
That would be wonderful.
Couple things, everything, Carl?
Nope. Go ahead.
No, okay, I do. Just, I know we're having a lot come at us right now, which is great. Just some things that have been in my email box for a little bit, I didn't want to lose track of. We've talked about the website a little bit, getting that updated. try and get, where we're at with that. And to bring us back, the road salt concern with the water testing, make sure we lose
That's
track of
coming
that.
on an agenda. I can give you the date, but it's one of the next two meetings that's on there. The road salt, I know was on there.
I've got an email, I think we all got it, asking for our stance on Act 181 as well.
Yes.
And the final one would be, in my email, which I've been looking at, seems like a while, is the Lassard property.
Sard property at 181. These are what you would like to see on the agenda?
At some time soon, because I don't want to lose sight of things I think that we could, I'm not saying any of these are easy fixes, but stuff that we can, I look at my email, it just keeps getting a little lower and a little lower.
Road salt, which I know is on one, Act 181 and Lassard property.
Yes. Correct, and website, so that's going to be a continued
And
update.
a website update. Okay, got it.
Thank you.
I bet your list looks a lot like mine. When you cross something off, two things get added.
I just stopped crossing things off.
I live to cross things off.
Are there any other roundtables?
And bypassing roundtable tonight.
Chris? Good.
All right, Carla.
Oh, I move to find that premature general public knowledge of the recent lawsuit complaint filed will clearly place the public body at a substantial disadvantage pursuant to 1 VSA 313. We have to move.
Second it, move, right, vote on the first motion.
We have to do two motions, one to make a finding, and then second to go into executive session.
The number I got a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That was just really fast. That's my reading.
Yeah, no, I make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss the recent lawsuit complaint pursuant to 1 VSA 313A1F and invite our town attorney and town administrator to participate.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. We're back from the executive session.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.